Hey, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Marty Butler with Evolve MEP, and we'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to join, and then we'll kick things off. Still got some people joining, so 30 seconds or so. All right, looks like we have most of our attendees here. So I'll go ahead and get things kicked off. Again, my name is Marty Butler, and I'm the Customer Engagement Manager here at Evolve. And welcome to September's monthly webinar. Before we get started, or before I pass it over to Adam, I do have a couple of things to go over. And first one being some helpful support links. If you need these after the meeting, feel free to reach out to me or Adam, but my email address is here right at the top, so make a note of that. And I'll get these to you directly if you have any questions. But notably, I did add a few down at the bottom here from last month, and particularly the new license portal overview, frequently asked questions. And then there's a quick, like a few minute overview video that's helpful. And then the release notes, which you can find on our website. And then the downloads also, if you're not on 6.0, which is some of the things we'll be looking at today. All right, and one other thing, I want to get a plug in for MEP Force that's coming up in a couple of months. This is in November in San Antonio. We'll be there. All of our sales folks will be there. So if you do want to meet with us or just have a bite to eat or a drink, reach out to your salesperson. And if you don't know your salesperson, I'll put our sales manager's email in the chat here before we conclude. His name is Brad Lacamy. And, in addition to that, if you have any questions about the content of MEP Force or what we'll be doing there or our schedule, reach out to our marketing director, David Gabriel, and his contact info is here as well. All right. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Adam. You all know Adam, our product manager, and he's going to be showing a couple of the new features. And after that, we'll get right into the question and answer session.
All right, thanks, Marty.
All right, you're welcome.
Just gonna stop sharing your screen, then I can take over.
Oh, so second time in a row. Sorry about that. Yeah. All right, there you go.
All right. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. What I want to cover today is I was going to show some of the development on the website, how some of the new features interact with that, and we can kind of talk about a little bit what to expect, what our what the next few weeks kind of look like for updates to that and that direction and where we're going there. And on top of that, I'll use some of the new 6.0 features and kind of talk about some of those and how those are configured. So I will go ahead and share my screen here. One thing that I want to start with, for those, I think I mentioned this last month, but I'll just probably keep mentioning this just so everyone's aware. Our sample files can be found in the admin tab under company properties. This is a self-extracting zip folder that basically contains a sample model and a bunch of configurations and things like that. The model that I'll be using is that sample model. I'll probably typically use this model, just to show kind of what some of the configs are as I'm using it. I'll point out some various settings or something that we put in here, and how you can use it. The nice thing about this zip folder, we'll probably have to put like an update, a date on this, or a revision, because we'll probably update this maybe monthly or every 6 weeks or so, because we're always trying to build out samples and new things. So if we can share those examples with everyone, I think it's a good method to do that. All right, so getting started. One thing you'll notice here is the Foresight properties has changed with 6.0. There's a couple of new panels down here, the materials and locations. So these are the two things I'm going to specifically go through. And I'll show how the website kind of utilizes those tools and so on. So where we start is in the website. What I'm going to do is start a new project. All right, so what I can do here is PM customer meeting. I can go up to this top drop down here to activate that project. And then what I will do is go to the design module. So anybody who has a Revit license automatically gets this design module up here, where we've got these nav items. The design module is basically the module for the Revit users. It's going to have various types of tools that we develop. It basically, each different module will contain a series of tools that talk back and forth. Some of those tools are redundant across these different modules. So this is one of them. So this is basically the Revit users area. It'll be very similar to what you saw in admin, where I have some company information and some project information. Below that is kind of where you get into the specific tools. So again, this is more like our initial releases. As we're going through, the way we're structuring our development is every couple of weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, we'll be pushing updates to this. So you'll just start seeing new features coming in here. And I'll utilize meetings like this to just kind of bring everyone's attention to it. Right now, we have, like I said before, the materials and locations options here, and I'll show how those come together here. So I'll jump over to my locations module or nav item. So there's two methods. Basically, the purpose of this tool is to create a location breakdown structure for your project. This is typically a project management tool, a function. So most probably BDC people are not getting involved in this, but we're just exposing it because we're going to show how this can link with the Revit model. So what I'll do is I'll create a real basic one where I'll have floor 1, and I can do floor 2. And I'll put an area A there, and an area B here, and so on. So the basic idea, I mean, you can see kind of just create these parent-child rows. They're geared towards floors and areas and things like that you're going to be used to in construction. But you get the idea. This could be as granular as you want if it goes down to the room or something like that. But just to get the point across, create a simple 2-floor building, area A and B. This one could use a, oh, let's see what I did. B. Okay, so I have the breakdown structure here. So once this is created, I can basically bring this structure into the Revit project and start linking my locations within that model. So what that looks like is when I'm in my Foresight project, first thing I need to do is align my model with that new project I just made. is right here. I'm going to shut off my materials panel because I'm just not going to use that right now. I'm just going to deal with this one, apply my changes, and I will sync the project. So basically what I did is I brought that structure into the model, and what you'll see is it'll list out how many like location nodes you brought in. It also displays how many are in the model and then how many are mapped. So the locations that came in are 6. If I go back to the site, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically, each location is or each node is a location. The Revit locations are 2. So in this sample model, I just have 2 of the square little location nodes, location boxes placed in the model. So that's what that number represents. And then quantity mapped is basically how many of these are connected. So the way you connect the two is you go into your location manager. You'll see there's my V1, C1 location. And I have a column here called Foresight locations. So when I drop this down, basically I see a representation of that same structure. So in this example, I can say, okay, well, that's B, and I have C1, and I'll just call this A. So basically, I'm just connecting the dots, saying I have a boundary established in my model. It's part of some location structure of this project. You know, the website's facilitating kind of just that creation of that structure, and we're just aligning the two here. So once I hit OK, you'll see it'll say I have 2 mapped. One of the things we didn't automate any assigning because it just allows you to be very versatile on the Revit side. You can call these locations whatever you want. So it just kind of gives it that more manual alignment here. So what I want to do now is basically do an assign location. So this will just assign all the elements within those boxes. I think my floor, I'll jump to the floor plan view once this is done. Can you see those? Yeah. So there's one of those, and there's the other one. So you can see them in my 3D view. You can't, I have them turned off. But if I click on an element, what you'll see is we have 2 project parameters here. The LBS ID, which is the identifier that you called the location box. Then you have your Foresight ID, which you can see is that same, location structure typed out. And this is just written to the elements for additional filtering or tagging or things like that. So I have my locations assigned, and then I have all the locations mapped. So the next piece is the materials module, which is represented in the takeoff nav item here. So we're calling this a takeoff pad, or the takeoff nav item. Basically, it's going to be a series of tools to do various takeoff functions. One of those things is going to be taking Revit information as far as quantity takeoff and processing through it. So, you know, if you wanted to export a list of your underground conduit, you can get those quantities into this area, move them over into a takeoff pad, and start working the quantities, obviously rounding them up and doing that type of thing. So there'll be a lot of tools coming in, but the initial release of this feature basically will pull the data from Revit, populate this in a grid. You can start to organize it a little bit, but there's still some features that are not all there yet. So it's really just bringing the data in at this point. So I'll show you what that looks like here. The way we do this, we jump to this module and turn on the materials panel. You'll see we use data profiles. Last customer update last month, I think I went through a bunch of this with the profiles and how that's put together. So I'll touch on it again for those who weren't there, but I won't spend too much time on it. So basically, you can assign 1 or more profiles to this config here, and then when you do a sync project, it will bring the data in. So I'll sync the project now. Oops, save my changes. And I'll sync the project, and then I'll actually do a couple of things with the profile that you can kind of see how you can align some parameter data from the elements to the website. So that's successful. Hit OK. So I'll jump over to the site. I don't know if I need to refresh. Here it comes. So pulls in the list. This is basically a summarized list of the items. So the quantities are summed, just rounded to the nearest whole number, and you have just basically a grid list of the items. So just a couple of things to point out. The column fields here, when we look at the profile, this is kind of where the data is coming into. So these are available fields that you can map to currently. We will have additional filtering functions. The one filtering function that is in here is the breakdown structure. So this is kind of how the two things overlap with each other and come together. So you'll see I have that same grid structure that I created on the website here. And if I were to say, okay, I want area A, it'll filter down to A, and I can do B, bigger list there. So basically, it's just a simple, filter by location function, but that's just how the two are connected. So, just one other thing to point out on the website, and then we'll jump back into Revit. So I can start, I mentioned I can start kind of mapping or moving items to different takeoff pads. So this Revit tab here that automatically gets created is always a representation of that synced model. We can sync multiple models to this. It doesn't display that currently, but you can actually sync the data from them today. What we'd probably end up doing is putting in an additional filter here for filtering out different models. But anyway, but what you can do here is select some items and basically do a map to pad. I think you can, unless it's broken. Oh, I guess not sure why that's deactivated. Oh, I know why, because I don't have a pad. So I'll put that in there, test one, come back here. And now I can map things over to test one. So this won't change here on this table because this is just a representation of everything that's in the model. But in this pad, now I've sent these three items here. So where this is going is basically there'll be access to basically any of the parameter data about these elements. So you're going to start grouping things by spools, by areas, by systems, and every combination thereof. This takeoff pad and various tools that we'll bring in kind of will help facilitate chopping those quantities up and then taking them down the line. So hopefully that makes sense. And you can start to see some of this functionality that we've been talking about over the last couple of months start to come in. So what I want to do is jump back to the model and start tweaking some of the information. So I'll take an example for hangers that I was thinking of today. So let's just say you had some custom hangers, or you want to create a unique profile for hangers because it has some different information that you want to capture. So what I'll do is I'll modify this profile so we can separate these out, and then I'll actually show some of the parameter sync things that we've put together for our hangers that might be applicable. So I'll jump into my data profiles and I'll find my evolve material profile. So again, this is the one that's in the sample model. Everyone that opens up this model can be doing everything that I'm doing right now. So I'll click on this evolve materials. I'm going to copy it here. I'm going to rename it. I'll call this material. Actually, I'll just call this hanger bomb, or let's do a hanger assembly. Let's do it that way. And I'll keep this as is. So let me jump to my hanger assembly. So the big thing with a profile, again, just to kind of cover some information from last time, there's two main parts of a profile. Think of it as a method to create a containment of elements within a model and then do something with it. A bunch of our tools are using profiles now, and this is obviously one of them. But once you grasp the concept of what the function is and how you can kind of specify what what parameter information you want to use, it starts to really make sense, and you can start really taking advantage of these tools. There's a lot you can do with them. But the two main parts are your element filter and basically your selection scope. The element filter obviously defines what you want. Selection scope basically defines where you want, or what exactly you want, what aspect of the project you want, entire project, by view, by selection, etc. So for the element filter on this, what I'm going to do is really don't need all that, really just need my conduit fittings. And I'll use evolve category. I think it's going to equal to constant. Oops. I think it's under hangers. I should not need any of these. And I'll do that for right now and see what I get. So one way I can test this profile out is use our find elements feature. So when you first open it, make sure you hit the refresh button so you capture all the profiles from the open project. This is a dockable pane, so that means you can have multiple projects open, and you got to make sure you're pulling the profiles from what's active. So I'll find my hanger assembly here, and I'll just run the script. And there's all my assemblies. There's all the assemblies that I captured that have hangers. And what I don't want these rod assemblies. I just want these trapeze ones here. So what I want to do is just look for one more filter here that I can use. And let's see, hangers will say subcategory contains the word trapeze. That'll narrow that search down. So I'll jump back into my element filter, add a condition for evolve subcategory trapeze, and we got to say contains. All right, so I can jump back over to my tool here, just do another refresh, and there's my assemblies. You can use the settings. I just, for whatever reason, closed out of it. You can use the settings sprocket here to jump right to the data profiles from that panel. So you don't have to close out of it like I was doing. All right, so now that I know that I've captured this, what I want to do is use my catalog number field and come up with a catalog number for my hanger assembly. So a common method for fabricating trapeze hangers is creating, or a lot of different types of standard components, is creating catalog numbers. The catalog numbers describe what the part is, the configuration of the part, and it helps you build it. Think of a light fixture or any other tons of products, they have it. I always think of light fixtures because they have the same assembly codes for all the different options of your lights, what wattage and lamp style and all that kind of stuff. So same concept. We actually created a sample script here in Parameter Sync that will create a catalog number for hangers. So I'm going to write this to my evolve description parameter, and we'll take a look at the script real quick so I can show what that looks like. So basically, we're utilizing PowerShell here to grab a few variables from the family, rod lengths, trapeze width, and we created a series of options here and define what the nomenclature is going to be based on different values. So in order to do this effectively and not have some crazy thing going on here, you got to standardize, or at least the more you standardize, the more simpler this can be. This is a definitely overly simplified version of it, but again, it's really just a matter of how many different options you want and how many available, sizes or options are within that. But the idea here is I'm taking, a strut type. Here's all my different strut sizes. And this is the nomenclature it's going to be. So if I have an 1 5/8 trapeze, it's going to have a letter B in the name. Then I get into at the bottom here where I'm basically stringing together all these different values. So this determines your end catalog number. So you can kind of read through this: tier type, strut type, strut type, strut type 1, strut type 2, strut type 3, etc. Then you get into your length and your hardware, your rod lengths. So this would be unique per company, but again, it's a good example here. So when you hopefully get a chance to look at the sample model and look through this, and maybe you can utilize it. And if not on hangers, you could do it on any family. So anyway, I have this parameter sync. I'm going to enable this and then apply my changes and refresh my project. And now when I click on a hanger, I'll just double check my evolved description. Oops, did I go by it? There it is, evolved description. So actually, so funny, my rod lengths here are coming in at fraction. This is decimal feet, so it's coming in at a fraction inches, or it's decimal inches. I don't know. Looks like decimal inches. Yeah, 46. One thing you can do, you could definitely modify the script to fix that. But a nice feature in our families is we have a rod rounding length. So if I wanted to round to the nearest foot on the rods, hit OK here. It should actually trigger the script to run. We'll see. May have to do a refresh. Oops. Yep. Let me just do a quick refresh on the sync rule. So I'll select my hanger catalog. There we go. 48, 48. So this is a 2-tier trapeze, BB. I think 1 5/8 for both of those. 22, I forget what that is. Might be hardware or something. And then you have 48, 48 for the rod lengths. So again, so now the purpose of this is I want to send an itemized count to my takeoff pad with these catalog numbers. So I'm going to jump back to my profile. And for catalog number, the parameter I want to use is evolve description. And this, for my name, I want evolve subcategory, maybe. Subcategory ID. Put it in brackets. Okay. So what I will do to test this out is go back to my find elements feature, refresh this. Oh, I typed in the name wrong there, but I want to look for my catalog number right here. And now I'm getting my different catalogs. I guess my 1-tier, I did not update those, but I will do that right now just to get it nice and clean. My rod rounding, 1 foot. Process through these. And I'm just going to select them all and just bump them real quick, just refresh them. There we go. And I will go back and fix my typo. Oh, so it's not in brackets, so that's why it returned that. So I should just be able to select that. Hit OK. Jump back to my find elements. I don't know why I keep closing it. There we go. 2-tier, 1-tier. All right. So I've reconfigured my profile. I basically just put a catalog number. You'll see when I jump back to the table here, I don't have those catalog numbers or anything like that. One thing I will also do is our unit of measure code just has to equal each. If I can, there it is. So I'll just hard code that as each and hit OK. All right, so I got that configured. I'm going to go back to my Foresight properties. I'm going to add my hanger assembly profile. What I probably didn't mention, when I drop this down, you see there's just 2 profiles available. Even though in my model I have a lot of profiles. What puts a profile available on this is the column name list column here. This is where you kind of define your integration. If we don't really have any integrations on the electrical side, mechanical, we have the pipe server one. That's where it shows up. But by defining evolve materials here, it basically puts it into the list over here. So I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to sync this one more time. All right. So you'll see the element count went up because I was actually filtering out the assemblies in my first upload. So the count did change. But we'll jump back over to the website here. There's my trapeze. There's my catalog numbers. So again, this is just showing how the data is kind of going to be mapped and pushed. What we will also be doing is building out a catalog. I believe the catalog is available to everybody as well. So we have an electrical and mechanical one. This electrical one is, if anyone saw the materials Gen 1 product from a few months back, I think there's 20, 30,000 items in it. I believe this is that catalog, but it's just obviously just getting rebuilt. But what we'll be doing, like we did in the previous version, is start aligning the content so you can start mapping product information or product specific information to the Revit elements. This is available, so again, you can go in here and tinker with it for what features are available. That's kind of how this will be connected. So that's really what I wanted to cover, and to kind of show how the website is being developed, what kind of things are coming online, and how you can start utilizing some of these tools today and actually start seeing that and using it. I will open it up for questions if there are any, or any other topics that anybody would want to cover, or any utilities or tools. Got a little bit more time, so we can cover whatever anybody wants.
Questions so far. You guys can't let the mechanical people from yesterday's webinar beat you, though. They had a bunch of questions. 30 or 40. Well, I will add, while we're waiting for some of the questions to come in, that for this webinar, it is recorded, and I've had a lot of people asking for the recording. So instead of emailing those directly to you, we're going to plan on sending a message out through Foresight. So when you log in to Revit in the Evolve MEP toolbar, you should see a message. Yeah, that one right there, the message center. You'll see a new message pop up there with the link to the recording.
Yep. Yeah, I believe it gives you a little notification when you fire up Revit. One thing I'm going to show
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the last month's videos, a good question, actually. Yeah, we can do that. We've got the recordings. So I'm not sure if we'll put those in different messages. Most likely they'll come through for different messages, but yeah, John, to answer your question, we can do that.
One thing I'll show is our conduit bend report that we're putting together. So one of the next updates to the sample files will contain this report. Let me point to the right place here. Oops. Oh, wait, where am I putting this to? That's not what I want. Kind of reports. And some profiles. Bear with me while I bring this up. And I think that should do it. So it's just another sample report that we'll throw together. Again, pulling in the legends. They're not being pulled in from the legends view. They're image files of the same legends. But this will provide a bend report by bend type, and you can get it down from bend type to a location as well. We've actually, Carrie's been working on these reports, put in a few more options up here for on the fly kind of regrouping the report data, which is really cool. So there'll be even some additional changes from what you see here. But what you can do up here is do again your reporting by location. So you can change location, hit submit, filters it down. You can put page breaks, so there's no overlap. So you see how it kind of bleeds into from one bend to another. You could submit that. So now there'll just be a clean page break. So again, just kind of putting in some things in here that kind of show you what's possible with these reports. Can we generate prefab builds using Foresight like the sample reports within Revit? Is the John, maybe you can elaborate on the question. So we'll be able to, if you're like, if, oh yeah, I guess I'm not sure on the question, if what you mean by prefab builds. We will be able to put together bills of material and assembly lists and things like that, and turn those into like work orders and things. Yeah, work orders for prefab and stuff like that. So we'll be able to do that type of thing. I don't think we're going to necessarily have reporting function like this per se as a tool on the website, but yeah, hopefully that answers the question. Cool, thanks. Let's see. So I guess what I'm probably going to do for the next one, if anybody has topics that they want covered, please send them in. You can either send them to me directly or you can send them through support. You can always submit the support case through the ribbon here, or just send an email. But what I'll probably end up doing is starting to do a mix of various features and just kind of cover them, how to, if there's certain settings, go over those, but just pick a few in different areas and just keep pecking off the list. So that'll be the plan. Let's see. One more question come in. So for PMs that don't have access to Revit, what license do they need? Yeah, it's a good question. So the way, I forget exactly how we're going to bring some of these other modules online. But I'll look into that exactly. But the idea there will be you'll be able to give access to these other modules. So in the example of say a PM or a field foreman, you know, how are they going to access this stuff? This would be another module that you'd be turning on, and they would have access to that. And if you jumped over to that module, there may be, that one doesn't have it, but there would also be potentially like a takeoff nav item, and they would see the same information. Actually, you see it over here in materials. So if I jump over to my materials module, and none of this is all really early stages. But if I jump over to my materials module, I have the same takeoff module here, which is the same exact data. You see, there's my test one tab. It's all the same information. So it's to answer the question, there'll be these different roles will have different accesses to different modules, and each module will have a series of unique tools and common tools that are layered in throughout. It's going to just allow for multiple people contributing to similar processes and things. It's not type parameter for equipment. I don't have the ability to turn off clearances by view. Equipment. Let me just see if I. So I don't want to see clearances and sections. So you're talking about the visibility graphics of the clearance, I believe, is now right under generic models, and you can shut off evolve clearance. The clearance families, we redid a lot of the way our clearances were, and all the families where they're more, it's basically a universal family, and we did it so we could have more control over clearances and an easier control. Hopefully this answers your question, Dave. To shut off the clearance by section view. If not, just let me know. But something else to touch on there, with the way it's created now, what you can actually do as well is use element filter. And let me just pop that in there. There is an evolve clearance filter where I can say show. Show. Oh, maybe it's calling me a liar. Let me look at it. Oh, that's why. I don't know why that's like that. Generic models. Oops. Conduits out of there. Come on. Evolve description. Oh, what is this? Position contains clearance. I think it's evolve category. There it is. Oof. Okay. So I can now use element filter to show and hide by view clearances. And the clearances also have additional parameter data in them. So I believe the light fixtures, I can tab, select this thing, subcategory lighting. So if I wanted to create an element filter for just lighting, I could come in here and duplicate that. Call it lighting clearance. Add a category or an additional condition for evolve subcategory. I'll just say contains lighting. And now I can hide light fixture clearances. So I can individually control those. And I could just turn them all off. Yeah, I'm not sure Dave on that. I can reach out and take a look at it. So yeah, I'm not sure if you're looking at something different there. A couple of other questions. Do they need to buy a full version of Evolve Electrical in order to get them access? Or is there a lighter version for those guys? Yeah, it's not going to be a Revit subscription. The pricing model, I don't know what it's going to be. Whether it's like $50 a month or something like that to turn on certain modules. It's not the Revit product that they need to buy by any means. It's an additional X dollar per month fee to turn on a module, basically per user is the idea there. We are bringing on a few other Lighthouse partners for beta testing this as we start going live. So if you are interested, you can reach out to me. And how do we get access to field module? Yeah, so I don't, that'll be something I can follow up next month on as far as the release plan for these. Some of these may come online and be available to use earlier than I know, but I'm not really sure exactly what the release plan is for those modules. So what you will see is this design module, and more likely you'll see additional features coming out here that will also be in the field modules and stuff like that. But you'll probably see more of this get developed before those other ones come online. All right. Give it another couple minutes, and if anything else comes up, try to think of anything that's worth noting in the sample file. Oh, one thing to point out, I've been on a few calls and I just wanted to point this out with Element Filter, a way to use it that hopefully kind of expands on how you think of some of these tools and how they're layered and why they're layered the way they are. So let's just say, I don't know, Colorizer. Pick a tool that uses Element Filter. So I want to color light fixtures, for example, or maybe, actually, I'm going to use a bit different example, parameter sync. So I got a rule that I'm going to make here, and I'm writing this rule to apply to all my elements in my project. And there's always a group of elements I have to select. So typically what you're doing here is you're jumping into your element filter and you're finding conduit, you're scrolling down. Oh, there's conduit fittings, there's conduits, typing into here, finding equipment. So you could be spending, a minute or so trying to navigate through the dozen categories you need. So another method for this is using the copy from existing. So what you can do over in the actual element filter tool are create element filters that maybe you don't even necessarily use as element filters, but you use them as starting points in other tools. So an example would be this Evolve MEP categories. All that is, I'll bring it in here. So I'll use copy from existing. It's going to tell you it's going to wipe everything out if you do this. So I'll pick my categories. So you'll see the list here is the same list over here. So I can take any of them, just grab it. And let's clear this out. So you'll see automatically I pull in, a dozen categories all checked off. Obviously, I could also have conditions in here as well. So when I bring that in, all that comes in by default. But it's a quick way to fill that out. So let me just cancel it. So what it would look like, just doing it quick. Grab my category, hit OK. There's all my stuff, add a condition, say comments, or whatever. I was thinking of writing comments, but I could write those conditions there, hit OK. And I can write some value to comments, and I can push that out. So then as I click my light fixture and I bump it, oops, There it is. Oh, I don't know why I didn't go to comments, but that was the idea. Just a way to quickly bring in element filter rules and stuff into tools. So hopefully that made sense. Oh, I didn't enable it. That's why. There it is. Test. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we can call it, and we'll do this again next month. And again, if there's any suggestions for topics, please let me know.
Yeah, thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Adam. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. We're going.
Bye.